Hello, everybody. Jonathan Nez here. Thank you for tuning in. This is our first episode of our new podcast. Are You Ready? Is the title of our podcast. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But I just wanted to say thank you for tuning in. I know that this podcast will give all of us an opportunity to talk about what is important. There's a lot of important topics out there, from politics to health and wellness to good things happening in the community. So, first thing I wanted to mention too is that if you have any ideas, topics, or special guests we could have on the podcast, please let me know. Email me, johnmnez2@gmail.com. You'll see it in a bit. And also, when it's posted on social media, feel free to mention those in the comments section. I have a special guest today. This is James Gravitt, my former campaign manager. And I know there was a lot of questions about how we did in this election. You know, of course, we saw the numbers. Many of us were saddened to see the results. But there was a great movement here in the state of Arizona, all across the nation, for our run for the U.S. House of Representatives. We fell short. Of course, there was a big wave, as they call it, all the way to Washington, D.C. And, all the folks who supported us financially and spreading the word. We appreciate the hard work that you have done for us and our team. Our team, as James calls it, a scrappy team. There's just four of us, really, that kept the engine moving for a little bit over a year. I want to say thank you to our team. Got James Gravitt. We also have Belle Pierce, also Stacy Pinkston, and Sean Sells. You know, that's what really ran the engine here in Arizona. Of course, we had some friends and national support from all parts of the country. We appreciate that expertise, that specialization. And, we raised over $5.5 million, which is a lot of money. Just imagine what we could have done with that money to help a lot more people in this district, but a lot of it went to the campaign so we can get our message out. And because of a presidential election and a battleground state, Arizona, most of those dollars had to go into media. That's the commercials you saw. Those commercials were very expensive. James will talk a little bit about that in a bit. Radio and just getting the message out. But we did make a strong appearance in this election. A lot of the things that we've been talking about, what you were all having me advocate upon, is also relevant today, even after the election. But I wanted to go into the numbers here. James, of course, he crunches the numbers with the team, and we found out some interesting numbers from our campaign. We did very well. We had a historic turnout in the tribal communities, as high as 90% in some precincts. Tribes up to 70% turnout, which was great. Historic turnouts. Thank you. And of course, all across the counties that Congressional District 2 is in, is 60% of the state of Arizona. And out of the 22 tribes, 14 were in this district. And what a great movement we had. And again, thank you so much. I'm gonna give some time over to James. James, if you could tell us a little bit about, those numbers that I indicated. You guys crunched the numbers, saying that we did very well. We outperform Vice President Harris. We outperform now Senator
Ruben Gallego.
Gallego, and we did well in the districts that knew me. But in the South, not that many people knew me. That's why it was very important. We were on television, getting the word out. This is such a large district. Gosh, over half the state, 60% of the state. It was challenging, but James said it himself to me and the team. If we were to run a statewide election, we would have probably done very well and won a position. But Congressional District 2 is such a challenge but it can be flippable. I know it because the numbers are there. But James, go
Well,
ahead.
first off, talking about the movement that our organization was able to kind of build upon and kind of help fuel even more so this last election cycle. I hear that folks back in D.C. and across the country were calling it Nesmentum towards the end of the election cycle because we really put a race that people had written off on the map, and it's unfair to voters, whether they're in CD2 or in any congressional district, to be seen as being kind of written off. Right. And that's why we made it a core principle to, show up and talk, but most importantly, listen to everybody, regardless of the size of the community, whether it was a population center like Flagstaff or the Quad Cities in Yavapai County or Maricopa down in Pinal. We showed up to San Carlos Apache Nation where it's a smaller population density. We showed up to Yarnell. We showed up to these small communities and we listened. And it wasn't just people that might have agreed with our party banner that we listened to. We made an effort to listen to everybody, even if they showed up to the booth wearing a Donald Trump swag. We heard him out. Because at the end of the day, whether we knew that if the results would have came out the way that we would have preferred, that we were going to have to also represent those folks in Congress. And, I think that is why one of the big reasons why we were able to communicate so effectively and authenticity to people, that they were putting their vote behind a person that sees all people as people and is willing to listen to him. And I think that's why you had that Nesmentum. And quite frankly, like it hasn't stopped. Like I still see the social media messages. Like we had a couple people asking you to run for president of the United States a couple weeks ago. So I mean, I know that your future is going to be bright. We built some good things. For instance, we did raise $5.5 million. A good amount of that money was spent on the Phoenix TV media market, and for the people out there that might be kind of campaign rats.
Well, let our viewers know how much it actually costs in a battleground state to get those commercials aired daily or weekly.
Yeah, I mean, we spent about $2.3 million just on traditional TV broadcast and digital streaming TV ads and radio. That's kind of the top line there. It's expensive to place one of those ads in the final week. It costs $1,100 per ad spot on broadcast TV. And when you have to talk to 780,000 people, there's 780,000 people that live in Arizona's 2nd Congressional District, and you only have so much time to talk to them, and you have to talk to people either through advertising or in-person events or supporters
and you
as often as possible.
You have to do that because of this large rural district. I remember one time you driving us to one event from all the way from Kayenta, Arizona, all the way down into the city of Maricopa. Just imagine that distance, and it takes a lot of time. So it is very important to get the media, the commercials out to get the message. And of course, those messages are 30 seconds to a minute.
And for our listeners that might not be familiar with the geography that we just laid out, that's driving from the Utah-Arizona border all the way
by
Monument Valley, all the way through the state and through Phoenix, Arizona. Like we drove through several congressional districts just to get to the southern part of our district, right? The district's 58,000 square miles.
And we'll put a map up.
Largest.
We'll put a map up right now for you all to see how large this district is. It is massive. And not many people knew how large this is.
Yeah, and I mean, it's larger than the state of Pennsylvania, 2nd largest district. That's not a district that represents the whole entire state. And, it just truly was impressive. We were able to take the strong network of people that believed in this guy who grew up and forged his way as a sheep herder from Shanto, Arizona, growing up with no running water, running electricity, that went and served his communities and county government and tribal government reaching to the presidency of the Navajo Nation. And we were able to really, take that belief that those local folks had in you and not only extend it to people across this district and across this state, but take the ability to build a truly, grassroots campaign, grassroots fundraising campaign. We raised $5.5 million, and our average contribution was $34. That's just unheard of.
I mean, a lot of these folks who, those of you that donated, especially from tribal communities too, gave $1, $5, 20, amounts of money to our campaign. We appreciate that, and we saw people get inspired, and of course we were vying to be the first indigenous person to be elected from the state of Arizona to the U.S. House of Representatives, and we weren't able to do it, but we also I think got the message out there that indigenous peoples, rural Arizonans are important to this country, because they are the ones who help build this powerful country of ours called the United States of America.
Exactly, and it was the ability to talk about how you worked with various folks throughout not just rural Arizona in your previous terms of service, but also neighboring states. And it didn't matter if they were Republican or Democrat, right? We were able to go and talk about somebody who has served in elected office and was seeking to serve in elected office again, to serve all of their constituents, not just their party.
Right. Yeah. And the key was, here is the difference too in our campaign, was we listened to the folks. You could see all these campaigns throughout the country where platforms were given, talking points were given to their candidates, and these candidates would say, this is what we want for you. It shouldn't be that way. The candidates should be listening to the grassroots people, and whatever is important to them is what a congressman or woman should be advocating for in Washington, D.C. Like lowering the price of goods, gas and services was one that was universal for everyone.
Healthcare, access to healthcare infrastructure.
Water was another one. The need for water, especially, I think we finally got some precipitation here in Arizona this week, but the need for clean drinking water, and that resonated everywhere in this state, and to get our fair share of water, especially from the Colorado River. Those are the things that we heard throughout the campaign. And of course, people wanted to be safe in their communities, going after the criminals, making sure that they're held accountable. Also, those that are suffering from substance abuse or dependency, giving those folks an opportunity to recover, overcome some of the things that they're going through, so that they can be productive citizens in society. And that's what we heard throughout rural Arizona. Of course, rural Arizona is different than metropolitan Flagstaff or metropolitan Prescott or Phoenix and other places. But to go way out to the most rural parts of the community and hear someone living off the grid about what they feel is important was inspiring for me throughout the campaign.
And I think it really allowed for us both, at events and when we were talking to supporters and having supporters talk to voters for us, and when we were communicating through our advertising, we were communicating what we had heard, right? And how that shaped your leadership ethos, right? And I think that was very, very impactful. In fact, I think it's one of the biggest reasons why we were able to be I believe splitticket.com said the 6th best performing Democratic congressional campaign in comparison to the presidential campaign here in the state within the district. So, I mean, once again, getting back to that Nesmentum, you've had the opportunity to introduce yourself to the district, and in doing that through paid communications and TV advertising, you also had to introduce yourself to the rest of the state, which makes it also hard because in order to communicate to the voters of Arizona's second congressional district, you have to run ads on Phoenix Broadcast TV, and that means people are going to see you in David Schweikert district, Greg Stanton district. It puts you in a real strong position. There are a lot of people that are very interested, including myself, in what your future might hold. And and I know that that's a tough decision, and I know that the campaign trail is not easy for candidates. I tell you one thing, it's not easy for staff either.
No.
And we will also I want to take the time and shout out anybody that worked on a campaign. Even if you worked for the party that I don't prefer, thank you for putting yourself out there and making an effort to work for something that you believe in, even if it's not something that I do. I know that the sacrifice comes at a personal toll.
Absolutely, and I've seen James. He's getting married. He had to kind of postpone that because of the election, and other team members had things going on. I think we got really close as a family, coming together, hanging out with each other, getting to know each other, getting to know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and that's what made this campaign strong. Is that we were able to work off each other, getting to help off from our national partners as well. And we want to say again, thank you to the enormous support that we received throughout the state, throughout the country for our campaign. And now the future, my wife and I just praying for it, about our future. My wife Ophelia, of course, she was right there alongside me, the same sacrifice too, great partner. And she's been a big advocate for health and wellness and early childhood education, and missing and murdered Indigenous women and children. She's been a big voice and a big help. And one of the things too I wanted to say about this podcast is we're also going to be bringing in folks. Maybe we're going to next episode we may have Ophelia. Maybe I'll interview her. But I know former Secretary of Interior Deb Haaland will be joining us on an episode as well. We have other potential guests, maybe CORE with Sean Penn, organization. They're doing some great work down in California with the fires that devastated homes. And we also been in partnership with other organizations
like Direct Relief, who was also a big partner of yours, and even helped other parts of Arizona to respond to wildfires.
And the chef.
And the chef,
DC.
Chef Andres.
I say Chef Andres, maybe we'll bring them all. These are folks that we've gotten to know over the 18 years of public service. Knowing people is very important. You build a network, and that's what we've been doing. We've been able to do it and reach out, helping them, helping each other, and just like we did through the pandemic and helping each other out is critical for bringing us together in unity. I know we just got done with a very contentious election, but we need to come back together and heal, and look forward and advocate for the future, for our children, our grandchildren, and 7 generations and beyond, as I used to say in the campaign. And have civil discourse without yelling, screaming, physical confrontation. Civil discourse, agree to disagree. That's what this nation was founded on, and we should continue to respect our former leaders by doing just that. I know that we're in a heightened time of division. But this country was built on diversity, and also
we're the melting pot, right?
Yeah, built upon different nationalities. That's our strength as a country. And I want to challenge you all too. If you have any ideas, any thoughts for our podcast, I want to listen to you too. Email me, johnmnez2 at gmail.com. It'll come up in a bit. And if you have any questions, shoot me an email. You can also, once the segment is posted on our social media pages, put some thoughts, comments, or your recommendations in there so that we could make it a little more diverse. We don't want to just have it heavily politics, we want to talk about health and wellness, maybe do some traveling around the state, around the Southwest, show you some cool trails. Maybe James and I can go up to Mount Eldon and do an episode up there, but just, things that are important to you all we want to talk about. But I appreciate everybody. Any last thoughts, James?
Yeah, I mean, I just a couple of questions for you, but obviously running for Congress is not like running for most other offices. It comes with a lot more. Yeah. What were a couple of your favorite moments, favorite learning experiences from the election cycle?
I appreciate the folks opening their doors to our team and talking about the issues, things that are important to them, getting to know a lot of people. On the Navajo Nation, when I was elected as president, I believe it was 40 or 50,000. I don't remember, but people voted for me. And in this election, over 100, almost 200,000 people voted for us. And that's very, I am honored to get those votes. And I know that there are people that believe in us because I heard it all throughout the campaign, and they want a better future. We all want a better future. We want our children, our grandchildren to be better off into the future. Of course, not having a handout, but a hand up for those that are struggling. In the Bible, it does tell you that we should take care of our widows and our orphans. We need to reach out and make sure that folks have a level playing field, that they'll be able to advocate for each other and for themselves into the future. That's, I think, true sovereignty, the ability to take care of yourself. Thank you all for tuning in to our first episode of Are You Ready? Are you ready to make a difference? Are you ready to change people's lives in your communities? If you hear of anyone doing some great things in your communities that we might want to highlight in the podcast, share those names with us. Small towns have some heroes too. It doesn't have to be in the big cities. Let's highlight some great things happening. We want to make this a positive podcast. Of course, it's very difficult when you talk about politics, but let's agree to disagree. Let's have some civil discourse. I'll see you next time. This is Jonathan Nez. Thank you for watching our first episode. God bless you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, James.